Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
So just as a starting element, please, if you have some question, you can perform it on the chat. But the first question we have is, can you hear us clearly and can you see the screen? Perfect. Okay. So what we will do, we'll just wait for 2 or 3 minutes before starting, and we just wait if a new participant will join us for the next 2 minutes. So we will start in 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so we will start. The session. So thank you very much to attend to this online session. So today we will present you few elements about the climate change impact on groundwater management in Gambia, and we will make a focus on a specific project that has been implemented in Gambia related to these issues. So as a starting point, we will be 4 speakers. So we will have Mr. Landing Boyang, which is Chief Hydrologist of the Department of Water Resource Ministries of the Gambia. Professor Sering Fai, which is a groundwater resource expert and which is professor at the Cheikh Anta Diop University in Senegal, and which have a strong knowledge of the aquifer system of the area. We will have Mr. Samuel Martin Ruel, which is a task team leader for water and sanitation of the French Development Agency, AFD, and myself as a session facilitator during the presentation. So we will have presentation in 4 times. First, I will make a brief introduction of the context, general overall context of the system and the groundwater system. Then we will have a presentation of Mr. Boyang about the water resource management in Gambia. Then we will go deeply on the AFD-funded project in the Greater Banjul area related to groundwater. And finally, we will have a brief presentation of the hydrogeological study of the subshell aquifer system in the area of Banjul. So, first of all, we are talking about the Senegalo-Mauritanian aquifer system, which is an important resource for the coastal western countries of West Africa. So this map is representing the western part of Africa. So we have different big aquifer systems, and we see that the Senegalo-Mauritanian aquifer system, it extends partly over Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia, and Guinea-Bissau. So this basin is the largest basin on the Atlantic margin of Northwest Africa, and it covers approximately 340,000 square kilometers. So it's a big aquifer system, and it's part of the most important aquifer system of the Western Africa. So I don't want to go in detail because you will see that further with the professor and Mr. Boyang, but we have to take into consideration that this aquifer system is composing with a different hydrogeological system. We have recent quaternary cover on the top of the system with limited thickness. We have intermediate aquifer system from Eocene and Paleocene, and we have also deepest aquifer systems such as Maastrichtian. And all these three systems are mainly renewed by rainfall and or by runoff and river during the high flow season. So we have to take also into consideration that this system at the regional scale play an important role for water use, mainly for drinking water, more recently sometimes for irrigation. And it faced to multiple issues at regional scale, such as salinization coming from saline intrusion, but not only. We have also some water quality issues, such as local fluoride and iron high concentration on some part of the basin. And on some areas, we have groundwater depletion that are located in some area of the Senegalo-Mauritanian aquifer systems. But we have to take into consideration that this aquifer system is a real important system for all the sub-region and all these countries, especially for drinking water and maybe for future use. So as the entire planet, if I can say that, the Senegalo-Mauritanian aquifer system is facing some challenge also related to climate change. So in Western Africa, as a general, the IPCC scenarios are quite contrasted on this region. But taking into account the last modeling result from IPCC, the following issues can be underlined. So we have a relative decreasing of total amount of annual rainfall as a general on the coastal part of the basin, while the total amount of rainfall in the central part of the Western Africa seems to could increase in the future. But for the Senegalo-Mauritanian sub-basin, we have to take into consideration that there is in the trend there is a relative decreasing of total amount of rainfall that is expected. Concerning the temperature, there is a clear trend of increasing of the temperature, with an increase also with a number of days above 35 degrees. So we have also to take into consideration for the aquifer system that it could have a significant impact on evapotranspiration in the future. So it can have also an impact of the renewal of the aquifer systems. So it was just a brief introduction about large context of the Senegalo-Mauritanian aquifer system. But now maybe Mr. Boyang, you can tell us what is currently done for the management and for the water resource management in the Gambia, but maybe at a larger scale for this Senegalo-Mauritanian aquifer system. So I will give you the floor to make your presentation. So can you tell us what are currently done and what is currently ongoing for the water resource management of this aquifer system? Mr. Boyang.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this important session. It's a pleasure for me and for the Gambia and all the stakeholders in the water sector. Next slide. As it was mentioned in the introduction, the Senegal-Mauritanian Aquifer basin is a critical resource for the region, which is intersecting the two river basin organizations, the River Gambia Basin Organization and the Senegal River Development Organization, the OMVG and OMVS. And then the aquifer covers 50% of this basin, river basin area. All the countries depend on the aquifer system for water supply, almost about above 80%. But in all the countries, there is weak institutional capacity and knowledge about the aquifer system. Equally, there is high risk of contamination and overexploitation because of the weak regulations and then legislation. And also there is old laws, like outdated laws and law enforcement, as I mentioned. So the regional initiative for the concerted management wishes to promote integrated water resources management in order to preserve the water resources and the ecosystem and reduce poverty and then promote food security and regional development and stability, as well as climate change adaptation. So through the support of the Water Convention, the regional working group was established in May 2020, giving a mandate to coordinate the cooperation. And this mandate of the regional working group was enforced through the ministerial declaration. And then there were a lot of successes in this initiative, notably the signing of a protocol for the secretariat of the regional working group for the Senegal-Mauritania Aquifer Basin in October 2023, and the launch of the UNEP project, as well as the drafting of Aquifer agreement. So these are very important steps that we have taken as part of the achievements of the regional working group. Next slide. So this one is also contributing to the previous slide. These are some of the deliverables of the regional working group during its working period. There was a joint project and an action plan for the establishment of mechanism for concerted management of the SMAB. There was a study on the extent and recharge and assessment of available groundwater data, assessment of groundwater management capacity in all the states, and the review of legal and institutional frameworks, as well as transboundary cooperation models. So all these things were reviewed, and then the regional working group with other stakeholders have to come up with a most appropriate transboundary cooperation model for the aquifer system. Next slide.
Okay, and can you tell us about maybe more about the aquifer and the water resource in Gambia?
Yes, actually, Gambia it's a small country in mainland Africa, basically occupying the floodplain of the River Gambia, and also being in the downstream before the intersection with the ocean. So there is a lot of interaction. The river interacts with the marine ecosystem. So as you can see, there are three quadrants. When you look at the first one from the ocean, it's all the time it's saline. That's perennially saline. Throughout the year, there is salinity. And in the middle, so this is seasonally saline. Some part of the season, like in October, it will move towards the coast, and then towards May, June, July, it will move upstream. So this it continues in an annual cycle, and then the last quadrant, it's perennially fresh. So it means throughout the year, the water in this zone is always fresh. Next slide.
Okay. And yes, which challenges maybe, especially in Gambia, but maybe also on the area of Banjul.
So yes, so this is why I created this slide, and then with this quadrant. So this is the area we call the Greater Banjul area, where almost 60% of the population is living, and then there is huge pressure on the groundwater resources, because the country depends 100% on groundwater for water supply, for agriculture and industries, as well as the also economic activities. So and also there is a lot of interaction with other sectors, with the environment, with tourism, with the geology, with the fisheries, petroleum. So all these sectors are interacting in this area. And then there is a huge fragmentation in terms of how this area is managed. So there is a lot of undesirable activities like sand mining, fish meal factories, which has the potential to produce some pollutants, as well as the construction of hotels with huge demand on water. So also the impact of climate change on the coastal areas. So the next slide also indicates, just to validate the point of the pressure on this area, there is a critical, like the groundwater resources is a critical and strategic resource for the Gambia. And because most of the boreholes that are supplying water are located in this area. As you can see, the dots, although it's not so clear, but you see the location of the boreholes where the water is pumped to supply the population.
And so to manage all these, I mean, critical and strategic resource for Gambia. So maybe you can told us about the current institutional framework of the water resource management in Gambia.
So as it was mentioned earlier, the institutional framework for water resources management is somehow fragmented. That is spread across various institutions, like as I've put in this the chart. You can see from the executive, like the president, the vice president's office, where you have the National Disaster Management Agency, which is instead of the disaster alerts and also warnings. So all these, and you understand that most of the disasters are emanating from water and then meteorological and hydrological impacts. And also you have our ministry, the Ministry of Fisheries and Water Resources, which is coordinating the policy aspect of water resource management. So also when you come to the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, which is currently the line ministry for the National OMVG Bureau. So this is also a critical ministry in terms of the regional cooperation, as well as the Ministry of Lands and Regional Cooperation. So this also is in charge of the other parts of the country, the regional governors, and also the area councils that are managing the other parts of the country. So you also have the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, where you have NAWEC. This is the National Water and Electricity Company. So this ministry also coordinates the water supply of the utility. So there is also important stakeholder in water resources management.
So we understand that there is a lot of issues around, I mean, governance, about governance in Gambia. So can you just tell us also maybe a brief history of the of how the water resource governance is currently tackled by Gambia?
Yes, this is important, and unfortunately, we still remain with the 1979 National Water Resources Council Act, which is the overall policy making and decision making framework for water resources in the country. The council has the function, among others, is to formulate the overall water resources policy of the nation and to serve as a government's highest level policy making body in the field of water resources development and water utilization and conservation. So unfortunately, we have this legal framework which is not operational. Next. And also you have the in the same act you have the National Water Resources Committee. This is a technical level which is in charge of includes the mandates to promote centralized inventory and management of all water resources, and to coordinate and approve any project or scheme relating to use, development, and conservation of water resources, both in regard to quantity and quality of water utilized, and also to put the licensing system for all water uses and users. But all this thing is not in place. The council is not meeting, and also the committee is not meeting. And then in Article 7, you have the establishment of the Water Resources Department of Water Resources, and this is the only success because we have this department with the moderate functions, because it's not able to fully function because there is a weak governance framework.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Boyang. So it was very interesting to see which challenges are facing, especially the Gambia, and how it is organized to address these issues of water resource management. And we saw also that although groundwater resource are a strategic water resource for the Gambia for multiple use. So in this frame, I will give the floor to AFD to have a presentation of what is currently done by AFD especially in Gambia, because I think it is one of the first projects in the water sector in Gambia. If I have right information, Mr. Martin.
Yes. Hello. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to present and discuss about this very interesting project in Banjul, Greater Banjul area. The short name of the project is WASIB. And yes, it's one of the first projects funded by AFD in the region. Of course, focused on Greater Banjul area, which is a capital with a big growth of population, maybe between 4 and 5% of growth, with a total population of about 1,200,000 people. So great challenge. And this project is led by NAWEC, as presented before, National Water and Electricity Company. This presentation is also made in collaboration. I think Omar Sane, in charge of the project at NAWEC, is also attending, so he will be free to complete, of course, what I say. AFD is a funding agency and in close collaboration and support for the progress of the project. And as project management assistance and in charge of the different studies of the project, Antea France and its partners.
So yes, so what was, maybe we can discuss about the project objective and the investment and that has been done by AFD.
Of course, we can summarize 3 main objectives for the project. Well, first one is to improve the access to drinking water in Great Banjul. And Mr. Boyang explained very well the challenge of improving the production of water in a context of changing and limited water resource. So this was to be done and studied very carefully to increase this production in a sustainable way from a sustainable source. The objective is also to develop the quality of the service within NAWEC and drinking water service for the population. You will see in different components of the project, there are different actions, either to increase if you can just keep back for the previous slides. Yeah. So in terms of quality and the quality of the service, but also increase the production. So both will help to provide a quality service for about more than 800,000 beneficiaries of the city.
Okay, so also that in the support NAWEC in development of its capacity as urban water utility, we see that there is also improve of the water resource knowledge and develop capacity and tools. So it's true that it seemed that the project, WASI project, have different component that are addressing different time horizon, which are short term, medium term, and long term. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about these three, scale of time. About the constitution of AFD project.
Sure. The project aimed to address these three time scales. So there is a very urgent one to optimize and replace existing equipment. We talk about water tanks, water pumps, meters, valves that are necessary to the correct functioning, correct production and distribution of water. It was identified as early works that could be done to improve the situation.
Okay.
Then a second component that it says medium term, but in fact it's also short-term need, but it's medium term in terms of implementation, since it involves higher works, like stronger impact by constructing new production capacity, new boreholes, reinforcing transmission pipelines, extending the distribution network. So it's more structural works to extend and improve the distribution, the water system. And then, we know there are short-term, well-known needs, but at the scale of the country and urban areas, especially, it was requested by NAWEC also to have a longer time view through a water supply and sanitation master plan to plan the investments in the long term.
Okay. And up to now, so I see that you implement some tools and studies. Maybe you can explain a bit.
Well, actually, maybe I give the floor to Baptiste Delbos from Antea, because they're in charge of implementing it. So they're much more.
Okay.
Okay.
Baptiste, so
I can take over from here to just give you a quick update on the project progress. So I'm Baptiste Delbos. I'm project director at the international division of Antea. So I'm a colleague of Axel. I will be brief because I think we're already halfway on the presentation, and we want to jump into the more the core of the session on groundwater. But just to explain the interface of the study with the project. As part of the project management assistance, we have already we started around 2022. We have already, in very close coordination with NAWEC staff, and I think it's really important to emphasize that this project is also running well, because there is a very important involvement of the utility, and Omar Saneh, who is in the part of the session, can acknowledge that. The first step on the system, on the water supply system, was to have an inventory and a proper GIS and hydraulic model to understand the assets of the water supply system, which are of course aging and facing a lot of problems. Based on that, the hydraulic modeling, we have already defined scenarios for current and future area. So it's actually a first part of the master planning is partly done already on the screen the typical supply areas and GIS inventory. I think it's important to emphasize as well that there are very ambitious targets in terms of NAWEC capacity building. And we've implemented with our partner Watura a mixed training program involving online sessions and a presential session, and it's been quite successful to date. We've already been able to complete 11 trainings out of 13. So this will continue, and we just finish to maybe connect with the next session. I think you can go to the following slide. So a very important part of the study and efforts carried out to date by Antea on this project relates to the hydrogeological study. So we have completed at the beginning a full assessment and inventory of the production boreholes, around 80 boreholes in the Greater Banjul area, and already carried out siting and design for new well fields that are currently at bidding stage. So we hope the works will now start quickly. And in parallel, we have performed the hydrogeological study with Professor Fay and of course the hydrogeological experts from Antea. That is going to be presented by Professor Fay now. So
currently the implementation schedule, so we saw where we are. So now
yes,
what are the next steps for the project?
The next step is to start works, basically. I think that's what NAWEC and AFD are looking forward now. So the emergency works are due to start very shortly now, and drilling works will be the next steps. Medium-term works will only start around 2025.
Okay, thank you very much, Baptiste. So as we saw, so there were big phases of structuring and consolidating the knowledge about the water system. There were also big steps in terms of hydrogeological studies and modeling. So Professor Serigne, I hope you are here, but it was a big issues, this hydrogeological studies with, I can imagine, a lot of outcome coming from this study. So maybe you can tell us a bit about the hydrogeological studies and the knowledge and lesson learned about this phase. Professor Serigne, are you here?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Yes. Thanks, Axel, and thanks, Baptiste, and other colleagues. And it's really a big opportunity for me to join this project. And that was maybe 5 to 6 times working with Antea in related studies. And especially for the Gambian one, it was learning, I said it, the context is quite a bit an issue, because nowadays in the water system, it was quite a bit weak. The legal aspect and the satisfaction of the water demand was big issues for the Gambian government. So this project, especially for the Great Banjul area, is a kind of a strategic project in order to improve water demand in the Great Banjul area. As you know, and I think Sulani said it, or my colleague from AFD, this project aimed just to increase by 25% of the demand. That means that still, really, we are having a greater issue to satisfy the demand in the Great Banjul, because before it was around 35. So, and you will see that in the Greater Banjul area, so Baptiste has shown these figures. It's around more than 80 boreholes for the NIOC boreholes, and for the private one, we cannot even count them. That means that we don't know really what are the potential and what, within this potential, what can we withdraw, and this was the aim of this project. So, if you this project is really to perform and update the hydrogeological studies of these top aquifers. It is the shallow and the sub-shallow.
Okay, so we see that there are also different simulation about this model at the end based on so it is an hydrodynamic model. So before going to the model, maybe you can remind us a bit the hydrogeological context, especially around Banjul, Professor.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Axel. So we've made a lot of investigation. I think Baptiste has said it, conventional hydrogeological investigation, geophysical investigation, in order to model the geometry of the system, to identify the lithostratigraphy of the Greater Banjul, which was not known before. Even the other studies was just like having a conceptual model for that, but it was to get to really the real data, the true data. It was through this study, because we've get through all completion report, analyze the lithostratigraphy logging in order to build this hydro geometrical lithological model for the Greater Banjul area, as is shown in one of the figures. And this was a great achievement. And also, we've make an inventory of all boreholes and their yield, the system, and especially did not know before really with accuracy on the groundwater flow for these two aquifers, because these two aquifers is the top one, which is the continental terminal aquifer, and the second one is a Miocene aquifer, and in between there is a semi-permeous layers, which allowed communication between the top and the second one. And this was a great achievement of this project, as you can see it in the figures in the cross section in the left. So from this project we know the thickness of each layers, and even we know the thickness of the impervious layers in order to implement them into the model, into the hydrodynamic.
Okay, and maybe so I see that there is a specific piezometric configuration. There is a
yes,
very,
if you
very
go
specific
to the next one,
aspect.
This one is just like what Landing said on this transboundary aquifer. As you can see in this first the city aquifer, you'll see the configuration in the Greater Banjul area made up by a piezometric dome, and this dome is spread all over the Casamance region, and which make the communication between the territory of Senegal and the Gambia.
Okay,
and it is the same for the second one.
And this is also the case for locally near the Greater Banjul.
Yeah, for the Miocene.
Okay, so we see that this piezometric dome, and so meaning that there is a very specific flow.
In the same case, there is a.
Sorry,
there was a communication. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
And okay, so you perform the conceptual model. So maybe the conceptual model for initialize hydrogeological model. So maybe I will pass on that, but maybe on model calibration.
It was a fine model with a cell of 100 meters, and we calibrate for the 3 layers, And we end up with a very fine calibration for the top one, which is a layer one, and the second one, which is a Miocene one, with a correlation coefficient, which is quite good into the system. And from these elements, from these results, we start our simulation. You can go to next.
Yeah, and maybe I see that there is different scenarios in climate change. So maybe you can tell us about the main lesson learned about these scenarios and groundwater resource.
Yeah, what we have made for the simulation is to get first to the current situation. So
this one, it is the current situation.
Yes, the current situation. And after that, we start really getting to scenario of new yield, because if you see from the current situation to the scenario one, we increase by almost to 18 million cubic meters per year by operating the OIC boreholes, by operating all the Kitties boreholes and all new boreholes from the airports, etc., by maintaining the same result as a main resource. And this is viable for this one. And also the second one, it is the same boreholes, but since you are updating we are doing some rehabilitation. This rehabilitation will increase. We suppose it will increase by 25% of the yield, and we put it in the model to see how the aquifer will react. We get to the third one. The third one is just like for to evaluate the potential, the highest potential we can withdraw. So we just withdraw more water. You can see that it's quite high. Yeah. And the third one, from here we start putting the climate change scenarios. You know, the climate change scenario we apply here is a RCP 8.5, which is the most pessimist one. We applied by reducing the recharge here, and also by increasing sea level rise for the for the scenario in order to see.
So I don't know what are I don't know if it's if we have to go in each scenarios.
No, it's just that pass one.
So that there is a definition about these scenarios, but maybe can you explain us the main lesson learned, faced to this increase of water demand, which is quite established and needed, and also this climate change. Maybe you have few specific elements to explain. I don't know if we have to go in which scenario we have to go.
I will just explain for scenario one, which is viable, which is meeting for the project objective, which it will increase by 25% of the water demand. It is from scenario one to scenario two, which really shows the result on how drawdown will be for the next 50 years. So, and it shows that really the project is it can be implemented with the new boreholes, and the aquifer potential can support these new demands. So these are the results we presented in the different scenario, and you will see it. Below is the kitty. All these you got on the green dots here. These are kitty area, and the OIC is the one which are in the right, in the left. And the
so
one
this is the different scenarios for continental terminal here and oligomyocene here. So I see that there is also a groundwater balance that has been established globally.
This is a general synthesis of all we have done. So we know really with a greater accuracy on the geometrical and lithological configuration we built here, with the CT1, which is in yellow, we got the semi-permeous is in the red with some dash, and the Miocene aquifer. So, and after that, we got to the Eocene, which is quite impervious limestone layers. So we know that what is entering from the seawater, what is entering from the river, what is the input from recharge. We know also the flow exchange between the two, because we know that is the city aquifer, which is giving some flow to the Miocene aquifer, depending on the piezometric level. So we got really the quite a balance, a model balance from the greater aquifer, the Great Banjul aquifer, which is really a great achievement for the project.
Yeah, it's a big work, and which is very important for the knowledge and the management of the water resource currently and for the future. So for your scenarios, so maybe you can explain, because I see that there is some scenario which seem to be feasible, other one not feasible or possible. Can you explain us your main conclusion about that?
That means that from what we've got with the different results, depending on the drawdown and probably water coming from the sea or the Gambia River, which is saline, we were more precautious by really setting up, deciding to retain these two scenarios, scenario 1 and scenario 2, which are most feasible and possible to scenario 1 is to go through the whole planet boreholes. I think it is more than around 13 and 13 new boreholes. I don't count the OIC one. And also, if we rehabilitate them, and if we increase the yield by 25%, that also is really possible to augment, to increase the water demand in the Greater Banjul area. But for scenario 2, 3, it's we will have an impact on seawater getting into the aquifer.
Okay, so what we are seeing on this slide is okay, we have limited maybe possibilities currently, considering climate change or not, but it seems that some of the scenarios are not feasible. So what can be concluded in terms of future, because there are some needs in terms of water abstraction. We saw that some of your scenarios seems not feasible, despite it could be realistic to have this situation. So maybe as conclusion, I don't know, Baptiste or Sering, taking into account these main important conclusion for groundwater resource capacity or possibility to deliver new water resource. What can be suggest for the Gambia to go further? Baptiste, I don't know,
you
or
want me to take the lead? Yeah, I think it's what we have got here. We can get between 60 to 70 million cubic meter per year, which really the potential of the aquifer can stand by considering the climate change. As you know, there is a big infiltration rate in the Gambia area. In sometimes it's quite strong, and that means that climate change should be considered. If there is a reduction of quantity of rainfall, obviously it will affect the groundwater potential, renewable potential resources. So one of the main problem, I think Landing has said it, is about legal and management. This is the work done, and that should be really continuing by monitoring, by taking in charge this model. and by monitoring, especially this important groundwater resource, especially in critical area, like at the head of the dome. These are the main research area, and this should be protected. And we got a big problem in the Gambia, and as Landing has said it, these aquifers are vulnerable to pollution, vulnerable to sea level advance, and vulnerable to urban landfill pollution, industrial pollution. And all these are affecting now and when I say urban pollution, it's more related to sanitation, default of sanitation, and all this is impacting now really the groundwater beneath the Greater Banjul area, and that really as a follow-up of this. I have already exchanged with Landing. Say you should develop from this a vulnerability map and risk map of the aquifer to see really a kind of land regulation, right, and land occupation, and especially to investigate more in water quality, because really I'm sure that within the Gambia area there are, I would say, thousands of individual private boreholes, which are very close to septic tanks, and this is a great issue.
So I see that one of also solution, if we want to increase the water abstraction, so it is to go deeper.
I forget this, because the aquifer, the Maastrichtian aquifer, which is the biggest reservoir of the Senegal-Mauritanian basin, it is crossing from Guinea-Bissau, getting through the Casamance, through the Gambia, the whole Senegal almost, and getting to the north in Mauritania. And within the Gambia area, this has a big potential of around 200 to 300 meters of thickness, and also the water pressure can be higher than 200 meters. So that if you release the water from the confined aquifer, you can have a water rise up to 200 meters, the pressure release. So this is a big potential, and there is no boreholes exploiting the Maastrichtian aquifer in the Gambia. And this is an opportunity for
Thank you, Sering. Just I wanted to have 5 or 10 minutes left to receive some question if there is some question. Thank you very much for the presentation to everybody. We see that modeling tools are quite important also to balance the local issues and global issues. And so I don't know if there is any question from the chat or from the audience, but I'll give you the floor to ask your question. I'm sorry because we are a bit late, so we will not have many times. But if you have any question, please feel free to take the floor for the participant.
Axel, I see a question on the chat from Mathieu from SHA. He posted it a while ago. I just wanted maybe to answer this one, and somehow it relates to the
what
second.
What are the capacity of DWR to monitor new drilling projects?
There was a first question from the same participant regarding the data collection and existing data, how it was used and compiled. So of course there has been a data collection process in the study. It's the first step. What is clear for us is that there is the issue of the institutional capacity in a small country like Gambia. We know that NAWEC has some data, Department of Water Resources has some data. academic sector is relatively weak on the groundwater in the Gambia. So of course it was important to collect all this existing data, but also to go beyond the national level. And clearly in the context of Gambia, we have to look at the regional scale, at the basin scale. And that was also the origin of this session. I think it was to also open up from a more regional perspective the issue of groundwater management. What I wanted to add is that this also raises an interesting question regarding and possibly recommendations that could be formulated regarding national or regional information system on groundwater. NAWEC is a public utility. They don't have the mandate to related to water resources management. DWR has. For us, it would be interesting, I think, to be part of the discussions on and maybe contribute to the construction or the integration of information systems on groundwater. On groundwater facilities and on groundwater resources at the basin scale.
We have another question. I think the question was how the project, maybe it is more related to AFD. Can you tell us about some intervention of the project to address the sustainability of the water supply service, especially operational and maintenance issue? It's true that after having installing this new schematic and new elements, it's true that the operational and maintenance is an important issue. So maybe it is related to the third component, I think, if I can ask a question to AFD.
Axel, I don't know if it's possible to open the microphone to Omar Sane here.
Every participant can ask their question as a microphone, but
because Omar Sane from NAWEC, I don't know if he wants to answer this related to operation and management and maintenance. Sorry, of the operator.
Just as an information, the session will end in few seconds now. So I advise you to have a quick answer about this question, if possible.
Yes,
so about the operational and maintenance. Is there something planned around operational and maintenance issue after the project, during and after the project, to address the sustainability of what is currently implemented? So the mention is okay. There is a mention. SHA is working on a pilot with a local company, Gam Solar, to propose operational and maintenance in rural areas. So thank you, Mathieu. Okay. I see that you put your.
Maybe I can give some few elements on this, unless we have a specific contribution from the project coordinator. So the urban utility NAWEC operates the Greater Banjul area water supply systems, plus 10 or 11 systems in provincial centers. And of course, the focus of the project is also on training and capacity building. What I should mention maybe is that there is a new team that has been set up at NAWEC focusing on assets management. Yeah. Yes, we can hear you, I think.
Okay. So I really want to thank every participant and every participant and every speakers for their inputs. And we hope that, of course, as this kind of session cannot answer to every element. So if you have more question or if you need more information or detail on this project, so feel free to contact us. And I really want to thank you about your presence, and I wish you the best for the next days for the World Water Week. Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you.